What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Wildcast podcast. I'm Justin Spears here with my guy, Michael Lev. We'll be talking all things Arizona Wildcats football. We'll also be answering your mailbag questions towards the end of this podcast. And then later on in the week, Jordan Ham from Sports 360 AZ will be joining us to preview all things Big 12 football, but also looking ahead to Arizona's homecoming game against the Kansas Jayhawks. It's officially homecoming week, but let's look back on what happened this past Saturday against the Colorado Buffaloes. Lev, just an absolute ass whooping displayed by the Arizona Wildcats. And listen, if you were to tell me how do you feel like this game is going to go, I would have said, either way, I could see Colorado maybe pulling this one out just because they've been so tough at home, even though they've been struggling. But, I could also see Arizona winning this game because it's a must-win game for Arizona. They're coming off a bye week. They should, take care of business on the road. I didn't know it was going to be like that. I don't know it was going to be just completely lopsided, and Colorado just looked kind of lifeless in that game. But Arizona, I thought, had maybe its best complementary performance of the season, considering the opponent. Like, they've played against some bad teams earlier in the year, but considering Colorado, where they were at on the road, Lev, I thought it was just perfect complementary football. Well, or I wouldn't say perfect, right? Because Michael Salgado Medina missed that 30-yard field goal in the second half. And, there were some blunders when the backups got in that game, and Arizona didn't really have the strongest finish that Brent Brennan and staff could have hoped for. But, 5 takeaways, 3 interceptions, 3 different players coming down with interceptions, and then Noah Fafita passing for 4 touchdowns. And all of those touchdowns were to different wide receivers. And then you had 2 rushing touchdowns in the second half by Kedrick Reesano and Ismail Mahdi. Lev, I got to be honest with you, man. I did not expect to see that 52-17 ass whooping displayed by the Arizona Wildcats.
So we talked about the possibility of maybe 2023 happening all over again, right? Where they had these 2 close losses, one of which was in overtime against really good teams, 1-score losses. That year was Washington and USC. And then they come out, they go to Pullman and just bludgeon Washington State. And then they go on this run. I thought that could happen. I wrote about that happening. Now, why did I pick Colorado to cover the spread? I would say because I'm stupid, number one. Number two, I just didn't trust Arizona on the road. Right? Like, you sort of like, you got to see.
How could you?
Right? Yeah, how could you? Right?
Yeah.
Because ever since that Utah game last year, they've been bad. Those games hadn't been close. And I thought it was really important for them to throw the first punch in this game. And boy, did they ever. It wasn't just the first punch. Like, it was a flurry of punches, and they just totally dispirited Colorado, took the crowd out of the game. Like, I don't know what the energy was like. You were there, but I'm guessing, I think you said you had a funny line about this at some point that had a lot of us cackling.
You could hear a mouse pissing on cotton.
Yes, exactly. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like it was quiet.
It was very quiet.
In Folsom Field. And I've been there when it's been the other way around. Like, I was there for their game against Kansas State last year, and it was a scene. Like, it was a really exciting back and forth game. And, they have not been able to replicate that since Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and a bunch of other guys left. And, that game to me, on Saturday, felt kind of like the Arizona UCF game last year, where one team was just way more physical and the other team's spirit was just broken. And it's nice to be on the positive side of that,
No doubt. And I think really that first punch that you mentioned, Trey Spivey, his 57-yard touchdown run, putting a defender in a spin cycle, in a blender, as they say, and just racing upfield. You could not tackle Trey Spivey on that run.
So not only is, like, almost every time he touches the ball like a touchdown for Trey Spivey, he's like the first touchdown of the game guy now.
Yeah, he sets the
did
tone.
That two weeks in a row. A massive catch and run. He is an emerging player, to be sure. Like, I think he's just scratching the surface. Great size, like 6'4", maybe like 210, 215, somewhere in that range.
Too.
He could run. Yeah, when he first got here in spring, it was kind of like, it reminded me of T-Mac in the sense that it was a very limited route tree at first. Like, you basically see him kind of 50-50 balls on
It
the
was freshman
sideline.
T-Mac.
Yeah, freshman T-Mac. And Spivey's a redshirt sophomore, so, not exactly the same. But they are built similarly, and you're seeing, like, the growth, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing the growth in terms of his repertoire. And a lot of credit to Brent Brennan and Bobby Wade, who kind of, co-coach the wide receivers. They've done a really good job of coaching him up, and he obviously has a lot of talent to
Yeah.
tap into.
Lev, I'm going to be honest with you. So once
Yeah,
they went up
please.
10-0,
Yeah.
once they went up 10-0, and then Chase Kennedy had the strip sack recovered by Leroy Palu inside, deep inside Colorado territory. They were inside the red zone. I was waiting for Arizona to slip on the banana peel. I just I had that feeling. I'm like, man, they could go up 17-0. I mean, just really kind of put this game, I wouldn't say to rest, but I mean, really have a handle on this game. I was waiting for it to happen.
I know why. Because you've seen it happen.
Because
Right?
it happens all
Because
the
it
time.
happened against BYU, right? Like, they had, how many opportunities did they have? Even in the Houston game, too, they had opportunities to expand the lead,
Yeah.
right? And really put some distance between them and the opponent, and they didn't do it.
No.
This game, they did. Even
Noah
at halftime, I was like, hey, no messing around here. Like, you gotta stay locked in. And eventually the lead got so big that they were able to put the backups in, and some of that didn't go great.
Well, I mean,
after the reserves came in.
Third quarters have kind of been lulls for Arizona this year. And like you, I was like, hey, no messing around here. You've got Colorado right where you want them. Go out here, deliver that knockout punch, get your starters out of the game, cruise to a victory, get ready for next week against Kansas. And boom, right off the bat. I mean, Ismail Mahdi, Kedrick Risino with that touchdown, putting in 7 offensive linemen inside the goal line. I think they found their red zone formula. I mean, anytime they get inside the 10 or the 5-yard line, just load up on all those big ass offensive linemen and use your running backs to kind of push your way into the end zone.
They had 3 backs, quote unquote, like lined up all next to each other behind the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
On that play.
It was like, and they're, shoulder to shoulder. We didn't ask Brent, like, what the name of that scheme is, or the name of that package, because it was fascinating. But I mean, all in all, Lev, I just think that, the defense stepping up and coming up with those takeaways, setting up Arizona in deep inside Colorado territory. I mean, they had 7 drives in the plus side of the field.
Yeah,
So
it was a really weird. Yeah, it was a really, really weird statistical game, because they had these drives that were like 1 play, 2 plays, 3 plays, like 19 yards, 17 yards, 12 yards, because of how the defense set them up. I'm sure there was a lot of shit talk going on in the defensive huddle about guys not scoring touchdowns. They got so close. How many times did they get, like, inside the 20 and end up getting tackled? So, but that's okay. Hey, that's okay. Just set Noah Fifita up to be the the offensive player of the week in the Big 12, or co-offensive player of the week. Everyone's there's 2 every time. So, what's funny about that, Justin? Did you know this is the fewest completions and the fewest attempts that he's ever had in a start at Arizona? 11 and 19. That's how weird this game was. He came out midway through the third quarter. The second lowest was actually, in both of those categories, was the Hawaii game earlier this year, which was sort of similar, in that they pulled away and they didn't really need to use him that much. But, to get a Player of the Week award when it's sort of like a little bit of Tyrese Halliburton on the U.S. Olympic team, kind of. not quite to that extent. Obviously, he had to make those plays, but you know what I'm saying.
But it was super weird because, it wasn't the super efficient performance that we saw against Houston. If there was any time Noah would get Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week, it'd probably be going 24 of 26 passing on the road. But Arizona did not win that game.
Exactly.
And I also felt like the throws that Noah made were so impressive against Colorado. I mean, the ones against Houston, he had some impressive throws, like that one to Trey Spivey that, set them up for that touchdown. But, the throws that he made against Colorado, it's like that one to Chris Hudson in the corner of the end zone where they got up 17-0. The one to Gio Richardson on the crossing route and found Gio in stride, and Gio continued to finish the play and score the touchdown. And then
You see the replay they showed, the field level replay they showed of that play?
of the Gio Richardson one, no, I
Yeah,
didn't.
like it could be a deceiving camera angle, but it seemed like he really couldn't see. Like there was people right in front of him, like a screen, like a goalie being screened in hockey, and he just threw it sidearm like around the screen and hit him perfectly.
Wow.
Like, so I'm sure he could see, but it looked like he couldn't. Which it was a very cool looking play.
Now let me ask you this, Lev.
Yeah.
What was more impressive, that one or the one to Javon Watley? Because
the one to Javon Watley, like
was that luck?
You kind of overthrew that one a little bit. Like you're leaving yourself no margin for error at all. If you just like take a little off on that one, because when you saw it in real time, it looked like he was out of bounds.
Yeah, I thought he was out of bounds.
So wide open. I also think Noah could have run on that play for probably 20 yards if he wanted to. So to your point about like the degree of difficulty, we talked a lot about how his ADOT, average depth of target, was a career low against Houston of 4.0 yards. It was back up there against Colorado. It was 13.3, which was actually a season high. So they were chucking it downfield. I think it's like, feels to me like it's sort of taking what the defense gives you.
Yeah.
You know, like if all they're gonna give you is underneath stuff, take it. And if the shots are there, take those too. Colorado played a lot of man-to-man defense. Maybe like, I don't know if it's 100%, but it's a high percentage, right? Whereas Houston, it felt like they were in that kind of shell type of defense, where they're going to give you the underneath stuff, and they did a great job of taking advantage of both.
So what was the most notable thing from this game? Was it Noah's 4 touchdowns and just how the offense looked? Was it the defense kind of returning back to their old physical nature? And I mean, Colorado's not really a running team, so you can't say like, oh, Arizona solved their running issues. That's just not, as you said in your 5 takeaways, that's just not Colorado's MO. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think it's just the swagger that they played with, you know, the confidence, like we're the better team. We're going to take it to you. We're going to, you know, we're not going to let you up for air. Like that to me was the biggest takeaway. Not any specific like X and O advantage or whatever, but just the overall mentality of we got this.
Yeah.
You know, and leaving zero doubt when they walked off the field at Folsom Field. So I'd say that was it. And again, it's like that. It's that, you know, winning breeds confidence. Confidence breeds winning. They hadn't been winning. Would they have the confidence? They did. They had it and then some.
I think my biggest takeaway was capitalizing off of the mistakes committed by the other team. And we've seen in the past, like this year, where the team gives Arizona the football, Arizona gets a takeaway, and then the offense just can't do anything with it. Like I said earlier, slipping on the banana peel, like you're waiting for it. And Colorado gave them plenty of opportunities. I mean, between the takeaways and the penalties, you know, I thought, you know, that long touchdown, by Colorado, I was like, oh man, they're going to like find a spark and like somehow get in the game. I've never seen a penalty call for brandishing a weapon. That was a first for me, but I mean, just the penalties for Colorado, I mean, they couldn't stop hurting themselves. 14 penalties for 110 yards. And with the takeaways too, Arizona scored 21 points off of 5 turnovers. It could have been 24 if Michael Salgado Medina made that field goal. But I just think the fact that Arizona getting the ball from Colorado and capitalizing on their mistakes, that was a huge step in the right direction for Arizona.
Yeah, that was the first thing I pointed out in my 5 takeaways. Was this was an occasion where it's like, let the other guys make the mistakes. You know, They talked a lot after the Iowa State game, which I don't know, revisiting that whole situation in light of how Iowa State has played since then is kind of interesting. They're on the struggle bus big time, but you know, they weren't dominated at the line of scrimmage in that game. And they talked a lot about like the 4 turnovers, and it was like 2 giveaways and 2 fourth down failures, but those are like mistakes, right? Like you're the one who's making the mistakes. This was a game until kind of garbage time where it was Colorado was making all the mistakes. Like it felt like it was like touchdown for Colorado, called back by penalty. Big play for Colorado, like penalties, turnovers, all that stuff. Hey, if you play relatively mistake-free football and you're not getting dominated on the line of scrimmage, you got a chance to win a lot of games. And this was an example of that.
All right, now let's transition to the mailbag portion of this podcast. Lev, you got a few questions.
I got a couple here. Yeah, I got a couple. So this one is, I don't know if it's really a question, but it's a good topic. UA Catmandu says, hearing about Danny G going over video with reporters post news conference reminded me of USC during the Pete Carroll era. SC would hold an MMQB lunch with alumni, paying for tickets after all games, but the last of the season, lunch would be served, and Pete would come and discuss the previous game, answer questions, and sometimes show video of 1 to 2 important plays. With DG and SD, that's Seth Dagey, being so talkative, they would be great, and the UA could use it for extra funding. What are your thoughts? Man. I sent a message to Ben Thenis, who's like kind of the director of operations for Arizona football after Danny Gonzalez's film session with us. And I'm like, you can monetize this. Fans will come and pay for this type of thing. And I think they should totally do it. People love that stuff.
You have to always figure out ways to monetize your football program. In the big 2025, whatever it is that you could do to add money to your football program, and also in the process, make people feel connected to you. That's been, an issue in previous regimes, right? Before Jed Fish, the Arizona football fan base just did not feel connected to this Arizona program. I thought Jed did a nice job of that. And Brent Brennan and his staff, they've really done a nice job in year 2 of community engagement and making people feel connected to the program. So it checks off all the boxes. You get money for the program and you get people an inside look and they feel connected. I think it's a win-win for everybody.
And for us, it was so fun and educational. Yeah. I'm sure Danny's going to do it again because he knows that it was a big hit. He had the AV cart ready to go afterward and pulled it over and just showed us it was 6 or 7 plays from the Houston game. And what was really, to me, the coolest part was he would show what they worked on in practice and then what they worked on in the game. And it was they were ready for the plays. Yeah. And they just didn't, there was a missed assignment here, a missed assignment there. Their execution was off, or sometimes just the alignment of one defensive lineman being on the wrong shoulder can just throw off an entire play. It's stuff you never would notice on TV. Stuff that unless you're have a PhD in football, you just wouldn't know.
No,
that these things are happening. All right. This one comes from Paul Pierce, not that Paul Pierce, I don't think.
Boo.
Boo. That's your guy.
Can't stand him.
When I heard the new OC, again, that's Seth Dagey, was from the Air Raid Leach School, Mike Leach. That is, I was expecting Wazoo from years ago, 4 wide, ball out in under 2.5 seconds, etc. That hasn't happened. Lots of scanning, holding onto the ball, pressure on Noah. If we're not that, what are we? And are we going there? All right, so I thought after that Houston game that maybe they were going there, but it doesn't seem like it. This is not a pure air raid system, even though Seth Dagey is a Mike Leach disciple to some degree and played in a system like that when he was at Texas Tech. They use tight ends, right? Tight ends are involved, especially in the run game. I think Seth to me is more about using what I have. I have sort of my base principles, but I'm going to use the personnel that I have to maximize their potential and our ability to score points. Yeah. So you'd like to put a label on it, they're going to be a running team, they're going to be a passing team. I don't think you can. I think he's utilizing what he has And I mean, the types of routes and plays that they ran against Colorado were totally different from Houston. Again, like I said earlier, because of the coverage.
Yeah.
Like I think a very different looking, different coverage led to a different looking offense.
And it's the same people. It's just different stuff, right? Trey Spivey coming down with a long touchdown catch. When I saw Trey Spivey get that jet sweep touchdown against Houston, I was like, man, if there's anybody that should be doing jet sweeps for the Wildcats, it's got to be Jayba Watley,
And then
right?
he
One of
got
the
one.
fastest guys on the
Yep.
team. And sure enough, jet sweep touchdown against Colorado. So I think Seth Diggy is a really good play caller. And like you said, Lev, he looks at his stuff and it's like, okay, I'm not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. I'm just going to, look at the defense, kind of diagnose it from there. And then we'll scheme up our game plan around that. So, whether it's, short, quick passes, whether it's, chucking it down the field, this Arizona offense, they know what they need to do to make sure they have a good game plan.
All right. I have one more on
Okay.
my side here. This is from Billy Webb Ellis. He says, I think my question is better answered post Colorado, which is good since we are post Colorado.
Sweet.
What's the realistic expectation for this team over the last half of the season? I'd like to think a win sparks confidence and maybe a winning streak, but a loss, a bowl is certainly still possible, but seems unlikely. Well, we know that they've won now. So they are 5-3. And I think that 7-5 is a very realistic outcome now to this season. And I think 8-4 might even be the ceiling for what is possible because Kansas is beatable. Baylor's beatable. Both of those games are at home. I mean, hey, if the fans aren't into it now, I don't know when they ever will be. But both of those teams have very shaky defenses, explosive offenses. I would say like if you stacked up all the offense versus offense, defense versus defense, Arizona's got the better defense than both of those teams. So I'll give the edge to the Wildcats there. And then with ASU at the end of the season, I know Jeff Sims had an unbelievably good game against Iowa State, but I'll take my chances against Jeff Sims over Sam Leavitt.
Yeah.
Any day. Sorry. All due respect to Jeff Sims, and great job scheming by Kenny Dillingham and his staff for that game. But knowing that Sam Leavitt isn't playing, I feel like Arizona at least has a shot in that game. So I'd say 7-5 is what we're looking at here, and maybe 8-4 if things really go their way.
I think, just kind of spoiler alert, I think they're going to win this week against Kansas and get to bowl eligibility. And then what I hope happens, and maybe we could talk about this when it happens, is okay, they finally got the monkey off their back, they're bowl eligible, and then they just kind of coast the rest of the way. And I don't think that's going to happen. If Arizona wants to live the red line mantra, they got to really show it after they become bowl eligible, but they got to get to bowl eligibility first against Kansas. But you're right, Lev. KU is certainly a winnable game. I think the Wildcats, last time I checked, they're favored by a touchdown. It started at 3.5, and it's now moved to 6. So that line continues to move up in favor.
I got 5.5. So it is definitely inching in that direction. I would say, again, not to give anything away, anything under 7, I'm probably taking Arizona in this one, which is sort of the kiss of death, the way things have been going for me lately, but we'll get to that later in the week.
But I just think that this game against Kansas, this is the one. Baylor, they've been struggling a little bit. And then ASU without their starting quarterback. Those are 3 games that you should get. Cincinnati, man, that's a tough one. Oh, by the way, next week, 10 a.m. For the folks watching in
liking
Tucson,
that,
Arizona.
huh?
I love it, man. I love the Big 12. This is great. Big 12 after brunch is so much better than Pac-12 after dark.
Yeah, Cincinnati and Houston, they always seem to get those early kickoffs on FS1. We're slotting those guys in there. But that's the only game where you sort of question the motivation factor, and that's sort of a good test for the team's character and the coaching staff. If they've already secured bowl eligibility, and then it's a road game, it's kind of cold. It's not, it's Cincinnati. It's not like a longtime rival. You've got your senior night the next week, ASU after that. That's the one in that last 4, that foursome of games where you're sort of but hopefully they'll at
I was going
least
to say,
be competitive, right? Like
I was
that's
telling
where
Brett,
you really got to push the motivational buttons.
I was telling Brett Gleason, the Arizona Football SID, that game against Cincinnati screams Washington State. It's like right, kind of towards the end of the
Yeah.
season.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
going to be cold. It's not going to be dark, because it's in the middle of the day, but cold, I would imagine, in Cincy in November. Yeah, that could be maybe a letdown game for Arizona. And Cincinnati's really good. I know they got killed by Utah last week, but this is a good team that runs the football, and they do it well with Brendan Sorsby. So that'll be a big challenge.
Yeah, I say Utah at night at home they're just a wagon.
Yeah.
Like that was a stupid pick on my part. Why am I so dumb? I put in so much work and then I don't know, man. I don't know.
Put in more work than both Jordan and I combined and
have a worse record. So sort of definition of insanity kind of thing.
All right. So I have a few questions left before we get out of here. This one comes in from Kyle Morris. Was Colorado really that bad, or did it finally click on both sides of the ball for Arizona? And my answer to that is yes.
Yes. I was going to say both. Colorado's a mess right now. And not only they don't know who their quarterback is. I talk about like a team that doesn't have an identity. Like, what is their identity?
Yeah.
Like, and then also, as the game is going on, like you're seeing kind of like, man, are guys on defense, are they trying to tackle? Are they kind of tapping out here a little bit? And that's worrisome. So, Deion Sanders, he didn't let anybody talk after the game except himself. So it's kind of a maybe a tipping point moment for that program and that era over there. Like, are they going to double down with Deion? Is he going to stick around? Is he going to, get some big transfers out of the portal in the offseason and kind of, reload? Or is he going to say, I can't do this anymore. My health.
Yeah.
Just kind of see how things are going. But hey, you know what? Kudos and credit to Arizona for taking advantage of all of that, right? Beating them when they're down.
I think there's two scenarios for Colorado. Best case scenario, Julian Lewis gives them a shot in the arm, and they just go on a run to end the season somehow because they're one loss away from getting out of bowl contention. And if Julian Lewis, their freshman quarterback, that was a highly touted recruit, a guy that was on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a sophomore in high school, this guy was supposed to be the next great quarterback under Lincoln Riley, right? And then he decided to go follow primetime to Colorado. Maybe Julian Lewis gives them a shot in the arm and they can turn things around. Or like you said, Lev, maybe this thing really falls off the rails and then Deion just says, between everything that I'm dealing with my health, I just can't do it anymore. I could totally see that happening.
Wouldn't you play that kid the rest of the way?
Absolutely.
Julian Lewis?
Absolutely.
What do you have to lose at this point? It would definitely be an argument there. They're at West Virginia this week, so that's an interesting one. We'll talk about that on our second pod of the week with Jordan.
Rich Rod. All right. This one comes in from Joe Sturk. Joe, big supporter of the show. We appreciate you, man. Joe asks, our defense, being Arizona, is number 15 in the country. That's awesome, but I can't help but be concerned that we still gave up 300 yards to Colorado. I know with such a big lead, that stat gets skewed. Should we be concerned on Saturday, or are we good?
I mean, to quote Justin Spears, yes. Like, I think that I think the defense is good. I still would be concerned because Kansas has a running quarterback in Jalen Daniels, which is like a quarterback who's capable of running. They have two really good running backs. They just have a lot of speed, period, on their defense. Now, if you're going to go side to side against Arizona, you're not going to succeed. Like, I could not believe how many times Colorado is throwing the ball in the flat.
Yeah.
Or run. I'm like, this is not how you attack Arizona. Like, they will swarm into the football. They've got plenty of like smart, aggressive defensive backs and linebackers who can handle those kind of plays. The way to beat Arizona is how, Justin?
North-south.
Smash it right down their throats. And Colorado did that for one drive. Couldn't really replicate it. I don't know if that's really Kansas's style. I'm sure they're going to try, though. and they would be wise to do so. I know Cincinnati is capable of doing that. So, like, I do think their defense is really good, is vastly improved, but they are vulnerable at times to a team that's really big and physical. And they have to really execute precisely on defense because they're a little bit undersized on the inside.
Was it Dalton Johnson's interception or Aiden Garnes where like the ball was just thrown right to them? Like it wasn't.
Oh, that was the third one. That was the Aiden Garnes one.
Aiden Garnes,
yeah. The ones with Dalton and J. Cole were almost identical. It was almost like the same route, two different quarterbacks, but like staring down the receiver to the left side, threw the ball behind him. The only difference being that one guy was able to get a return out of it, and the other one wasn't. The one with Garnes was I don't know what happened there. I think Staub was like rolling out, and it was a miscommunication with the receiver, or he got bumped by a different defensive back. But yeah, that one was easy.
Yeah, I was like for Javion Cole and Dalton Johnson, good heads up on their part, making that play and jumping the pass. Aiden Garnes, I mean, it would have been disappointing if he didn't come down with an interception. It was just like thrown right to him. And so I put more of that on Colorado making an ill-advised decision. But still, I mean, 3 interceptions with the fumbles. I mean, that one by Chase Kennedy to start it all. Like, I think the defense, this defense is very physical, and they are very fast, and I think they have an identity. But I'm really curious to see like how that's going to hold up against a really good running team. I mean, really good running teams the next 2 weeks against Kansas and Daniel Highshaw, and then Cincinnati with Brennan Sorsby and their running backs that they have. So we'll see just how good this Arizona defense is the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, they have more takeaways
than last year.
Yeah.
And they're number 1 in the Big 12 in picks.
They also have more points than last year.
Yeah. That's
so
crazy.
More takeaways and more points than all of last season with 4 games to go. So I would say that, yes, Arizona is definitely an improved football club.
All right, last question, Lev. This one's from Chris Halligan. Chris asks, are the coaches aware of the inconsistent snapping performance by Avery Salerno, and what is the plan to address it before we suffer a disaster? Is that the reason why MSM missed the 30-yarder?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I thought he hit that ball well. He was just offline a little bit. Like, it wasn't a mishit or anything. He just didn't hit it far enough to the left. I feel like Avery's gotten better. That was definitely a problem earlier in the season that led to some of those misses, but I don't think at this point they're going to change anything. They have one other long snapper, a freshman, on the roster, barring injury. I think it's Avery's job to keep at this point. And I don't know. We always put the blame on the kicker, right? Like, we always put the blame on the quarterback if there's an interception, but it is important for the entire operation to be sound, right? And they work on that stuff every single day.
Yep.
And I think Ian Wagner's been sort of a season-long unsung hero on the team. Like, he's done a great job as a holder. He's done a spectacular job on kickoff returns, and that kickoff return or on kickoffs, and that kickoff situation is a big deal this week because Kansas has Emmanuel Henderson, who's one of the best kickoff returners in the country. If you could just boot the ball out of the end zone every time and take that out of play, you're negating one of Kansas's weapons. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to change the long snapper. Do you?
No way. No, and like you said, you have a veteran who's been playing college football now for a few years, and then you have a guy who is a freshman All-American, Roden Mullen from Montana, played in the All-American Bowl in San Antonio. So this guy's a legit long snapper and is, going to have kind of like a Seth McKellar type of career where he's just, as soon as he gets into the game or as soon as he becomes the starter, he's going to be the starter for like 5 years. So, yeah, Roden Mullen is going to be the next guy in line, but no, they're not going to make any changes. They're going to keep Avery Salerno for the time being. All right.
Yeah, I would say that for the most part, as you mentioned, they played really good complementary football in that game, right? Like, defense gets a turnover, offense takes advantage. Punt returns were really good. I thought Luke Wysong was just excellent and with his decision making and getting north-south. But there was just enough stuff in that game too that they messed up for the coaches to kind of get on their asses this week. So that's the perfect scenario for a coaching staff, right? Win, but there's still stuff that we can harp on.
Yep.
And lastly, Emmanuel Henderson, he is number 2 in the Big 12 in kickoff return average at 27.5 yards per return and has 1 for a touchdown. And that dude is he's a transfer from Alabama and an absolute burner. So someone to keep an eye on in Saturday's game.
That'll do it for this mailbag episode of the Wildcast podcast. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment on Apple, Spotify. Also, check out the video version on Tucson.com. We'll be back later on in the week to preview Arizona versus Kansas. It's homecoming week. Going to be an afternoon kickoff. The weather is going to be beautiful down here in Tucson, Arizona. And then also Arizona basketball officially tipping off this week against the defending national champs in Florida. Our guy Bruce Pascoe is going to have all sorts of coverage. We just had our Arizona basketball preview special section come out where Lev had a ton of stories. Bruce had a ton of stories. There's just a lot of great work on Tucson.com. So can't recommend it enough. Make sure you get a subscription and stay up to date on all things Arizona Wildcats. Check it out on Tucson.com. We'll see y'all later in the week.